Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Weeb from the Winnipeg Free Press. Together, we are Kenny and Renny, and this is the Kenny and Renny post-game show after, lather, rinse, repeat. The Winnipeg Jets absolutely tuning teams out there, and it just looks the same every time. It's just basically, to me, the degree to which they break the team that they're playing broke them tonight, I think. That I think I think the Arizona Coyotes are coming back down to life. We saw them earlier in the year looking like a team that was going to challenge for the playoffs. I'm not saying it's over for them. A lot of stuff happens to teams in the middle of the season. You get those doldrums. We're seeing teams like, the LA Kings going through it, the Dallas Stars going through it. Not the Winnipeg Jets, mind you, but this is something that happens to a lot of teams. Oh, I guess you can throw the Vegas Golden Knights in there, who are struggling. So maybe that's what they're going through. I know they've been having a little bit of trouble lately, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the Winnipeg Jets just keep rolling. They just keep rolling. They just keep breaking people, and they just keep doing it with a solid team game. They just keep doing it, sticking to their system. I look at this game tonight, and I don't think it was, the Jets' best effort. I hope that doesn't sound like I'm trying to demean something. This is a great, great win, and it's a great win because it's at the tail end of all these wins and points stacked up. It's at the tail end of, hey, change time zones, right? They changed time zones. They bumped over 2 hours, and somehow they survived it. Good for the Winnipeg Jets to do that. But you go in here, and when a team is playing as good as the Winnipeg Jets have, and when they've had some of the big wins that we've seen them have on this heater that they're on, knocking off teams like the Colorado Avalanche, knocking off a team like the Boston Bruins, that's starting to feel like a while ago, but it's all part of this run. That just tells you how long this has been going on for the Jets. But just the idea that you're seeing it from some other teams, you have a little bit of a slip and fall moment, the New York Rangers, although the Jets also lost to the Montreal Canadiens. The reason they got to this place where they are, the Jets are, because the New York Rangers lose to that team. I talked about a bunch of other teams that are having some losses and having some pretty tricky losses. Hey, Renny went and he covered the Vancouver Canucks when they were first in the Western Conference. Remember those days? Boy, oh boy, just a couple of days ago, feels like it was forever ago. But hey, they got knocked off by the St. Louis Blues. And if you watch the game, I watched it. I was part of the broadcast, wasn't part of the game. Don't get too hot there, Renny. You're putting yourself into an echelon you don't belong in. But that game looked like a game. They were two teams that were duking it out. St. Louis ends up winning 2-1. I believe they do, but those two teams looked like they belonged on the same ice. It's kind of what I'm getting here tonight. This looked like a little bit of like a relegation match to me. Like the Arizona Coyotes were going to end up in the AHL or maybe the CHL by the end of this game. That's what it looked like. The Winnipeg Jets did not look like they were in the same league. I know people toss that around and they say, oh, that guy's in a different league and all that kind of stuff. Literally, the Winnipeg Jets looked like they belong in a different league than the Arizona Coyotes look like. It looks like this could have been, the Jets taking on, I don't know, maybe their own affiliate in the Manitoba Moose or the Norfolk Admirals or whoever. But this felt like a complete and total take apart. And this is a Jets team that could be resting on its laurels. This is a Jets team that could be getting tired at the end of, a West Coast road swing. This is a team that could be jet lagged because it changed 2 time zones. And what you're just seeing is a team that comes out time and time again and does its thing and does it well. And again, I tell you why I say I don't think this is their best game is because I take a look at the Jets and I think they left a lot of on the table in this. It's the same thing as last game of the game before when people keep asking me about, oh, did they really dig deep on that one? No, the Winnipeg Jets are not extending themselves in this game. Like, this is nowhere close to the capacity of what the Winnipeg Jets can do. And they made the team that they're playing against look like they didn't belong in the same league as the Jets did. It's just impressive beyond all measures. Couple things I wanted to mention while I was going on here. I actually bumped into someone who watched Kenny and Renny in the grocery store today and had a little bit of a talk. And I know he'd asked about my, contention that, a lot of goalies would look good underneath this system. It felt like the Winnipeg Jets went out. It felt like the Winnipeg Jets watched K&R. They watched Kenny and Renny. They heard me, and the team went out and said, let's go prove his point for him, because this was a night, although the score was 6-2, that Connor Hellebuck was the second best goaltender in this game. And Connor Hellebuck went out and didn't have to face a lot and allowed 2 goals. And the vast majority of the shots that he faced were from way out, floated in. This was not a challenging night for Connor Hellebuck. And the Winnipeg Jets essentially went out and proved tonight that even when he's not on his game, I think he had a .88 save percentage or something like that, they were still winning. Oh, there we go. Hey, I'm back. Sorry about that, people. Back to the point that I was trying to make. The Jets won this handily in this situation, despite the fact they didn't have the best from their goaltender. Connor Hellebuck, I'm sure, would have preferred to have a better night, but you saw him at the end of the game. The celebration is basically, it's a whole hum thing. Like, I honestly think that second goal that he allows, Ken and I were texting back and forth about it. And what I'd said about it, he'd asked if it was like a little bit of a misplay or however. And I said, basically, like, he looked like he got bored and went out to go try something and it didn't work out. And it ended up in the back of the net. Oops, no big deal. What we're looking at here is a team that was going to win that game if I was in net. Now, hey, Renny said you don't belong on that ice, but Renny's contending that you could throw some pads and some Road Warrior outdoor road hockey pads, and you could go out and you could win a game like that based on what the Winnipeg Jets are doing as a team and saving their goaltenders. This, to me, was just another example of that. And I will say this before I bring Ken in here. He's having a heck of a time, people. Actually, maybe I won't be able to bring him in because he looks like he's the littlest hobo on the move here everywhere he goes in the background. The green room is a moving room, ladies and gentlemen, because Kenny is all over the place. But I want to say this. We've had this conversation in the past on this show, and the conversation is usually spurned by the chat room wanting to ask it. And I have to say, at the time, I didn't know why, but it used to really rub me the wrong way, this question. And it was always being asked all the time. And people around this time last season were asking it quite a bit at Christmas time and whatever. People would talk about the Jets, and Jets fans would say, are we elite? Are we elite? And that question rubbed on me. It rubbed me the wrong way. And I didn't know why at the time, but it rubbed on me. And I guess I've thought on it and I've dwelled on it a little bit since. And I think one of the reasons why it rubbed me the wrong way is it's a little bit like, hey, don't you think my muscles are really big? And don't you think I'm pretty? And it just felt like this, like, look around, like, hey, don't you? Oh, Ken, what's going on here, bud? Technical difficulties. That's the show. It's just a bunch of talk wrapped around technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is you take a look at that question and people having to ask, are we elite? Are we Ken, stay out of the show for a second here, buddy. I'm sorry, this is hilarious. That whole question, that line of questioning, are we elite? It used to grind on me. The reason it grinded on me, because I felt like it was a little self-indulgent. It was a little bit pat ourselves on the back. But it was also like looking around the league and asking for affirmation from the rest of the league. I think the way that it works is if you have to ask the question, or let's put it this way, another way. If you want to know you're truly elite, you want to know how you know that, you are truly elite if you don't need to ask the question, are we elite? And I ask you, everybody out there, one who listens to this, do you really think that we need to ask the question at this stage, are the Winnipeg Jets elite? Yeah, I didn't think so. Time to bring in Kenny, the man with the best music in the business. Here he comes, everybody.
I can hear you.
guy.
Good
You ever,
news. I can hear
did you ever
you.
see
I
that
can
video
hear
of the
you.
guy on the BBC where he's talking to the announcer and the door flies open in his bedroom and his kid comes running in, and then the next kid comes in and his wife barrels in and tries to drag the kids out of it, and it's just like going terribly in the background. That's what this felt like when you kept popping into the show. I don't know what's going on here, but you look like you're
Hey,
having a good time. I think the audience is having a good time. That's the only thing that matters. What do you got to say?
no, you go ahead. Go Rossi, and then I'll explain. It's good.
Oh,
It's
hey,
good.
hey. Well, I'll tell you this right now. I like that. Is that an olive colored suit?
It is sage green, yes. Sage.
Sage Green. What a guy. Look at this guy, Sage Green. See, this is a guy who knows his stuff. And I can tell you this right now. Kenny, the guy I know from Altona, Manitoba, never would have known what color. See, he would have been lucky to know that it was a green suit,
Oh,
never mind a sage green suit coming out of Altona. And then
hey.
he met Frankie and the boys down at Vittorio Rossi. And that was the best thing that ever happened to him because now he looks like $1 million wherever he goes, whether it's sage green, whether he's got the hitman look, no matter what. Hey, if you want to pull that off as well, if you had a hard time knowing your blues from your blacks, from your sage greens, head on down to Vittorio Rossi. They'll take care of you. Walk in, loudly proclaim Kenny and Renny sent you. Ask for Frankie and the boys to do you up, and they will take care of business. Kenny, what
Buddy,
a game.
no mullets today handed out, though. The two people in front of me were wearing. Yeah, you should. You should.
I should, yeah.
I think you should.
I totally
Yeah,
forgot
I
about
think
it.
you
I
should.
will. I'll get.
You still
I'll
can.
get-
You still can.
I-
Just a quick reminder. I mean, great tap dancing as always, but this place is a bit of a maze, and now, Sean, they have the annex built. So now, in order for me to get across down to the room, I'm sprinting down the stairwell and asking the rink attendant if he can squeeze me in the Zamboni door. And now you're sprinting down the hallway just to get over there. And then the Jets had a big celebration and ceremony for the dads and mentors that were there. So the room took a while to get open. And, I've been pounding out the articles and newsletters here the last few days. So that's not a complaint. It just things were, and this is the other part of our business, Sean, as you know. Deadlines are often tight. So today, when you have an extra hour, you kind of need to use the hour positively. So hope I was able to use that extra hour crafting and putting the column together. And I've had a fun story with a few of the fathers, and spoke with Josh Morrissey's brother and Lauren Brissois' uncle, Clifford Foster, the 86-year-old from London, England, who became kind of a bit of a fan favorite, if you will, during this road trip. So anyways, that's enough self-promotion. Fun effort, fun game. Fun atmosphere. I mean, Sean, we've talked about this before. You and I were fortunate enough to be covering this first game, first home game played at Mullet Arena by the Arizona Coyotes.
Yep.
People are into it. Again, if this was a minor league hockey game, we would be signing up for this, right? It's a fun environment to watch a game. It's just not an NHL barn. So
No.
At some point, they're going to have to get that sorted out, but that's not a soapbox we need to jump on currently.
Yeah.
All to say that people were into it. There were tons of Jets fans here. I was sitting beside Dennis Bayak at the game. He was keeping me company on press row, which is basically on the concourse. And Dennis was getting stopped, and so many people congratulating him on his retirement. So fun day, fun atmosphere, really fun game. Kind of a little bit of a interesting start. I mean, the start was similar to the other nights, Sean, where the Jets were getting plenty of chances, and you wondered if they might get Vamelka today, but they stuck with it. And Cole Perfetti gets it on a play where he doesn't get an assist. He should get an assist for hitting Sean Dursey's stick and forcing that turnover. But guess who? Vladislav Nemesnikov hanging out in the slot, bearing a goal. We had our free press monthly mailbag go out this morning, Sean, and we know this because people are asking us constantly, are the Jets going to go out and get a second line center? Well, Vladislav Nemesnikov raising his hand over here and saying, hey guys, I'm over here. I'm still here. I'd like to keep doing the job for as long as I can. And if the Jets do go out and get somebody because they think that's going to be a piece that could help them win the cup, well, Vladislav Nemesnikov will be happy to go to the next slot he's asked to go in, and he'll continue to play the same way. But I was very impressed, Sean. I mean, yes, some of those goals were in garbage time, but this was another big example of the Jets imposing their will and just just not giving up a whole lot in the game.
You know what? It's funny because the whole garbage time thing, I don't look at it like that. Like garbage time to me is an assessment. And sorry, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think a lot of people would look at this and be like, well, yeah, they added an empty netter, and then Adam Lowry scores after that. And a lot of times, what you see when it comes to garbage time is a team that gets that little bit of an edge, and then it's score effects, and then that's when like the point hounds come out, right? The guys who come out and they want to get that little bit of an extra goal or whatever. This to me is just a sign of why the Winnipeg Jets are so successful. The effort up 5-2 from that Adam Lowry line. At the end of the game, it's just they're still just doing what they're supposed to do. Like, this is just the Winnipeg Jets know what they're supposed to do, and they get out and they do what they're supposed to do, and they keep doing it, and that's why they end up getting that goal. And I just looked at that in that moment, and I was like, that's why this team is so good at what they're doing right now. Not only are they at the tail end of a road trip in a game where a team is supposed to be, yeah, well, we get it. They're at the tail end of a road trip, so they don't have a good game. Never mind, do they not have a good game? They're firing on all cylinders right until the final whistle in the final game of a road trip against, a team that they could have slept on and refused to, because this team just never fails to do the right thing over and over and over again. They are the complete opposite of what turned and started happening at this time last year, where they just started doing the wrong things and weren't willing to do the right things. All they do now is the right things over and over and over again. And that's why it doesn't matter if Vejmelka comes out and tries to Vejmelka them. That's why it doesn't matter if they're out shooting a team like the last game and the other team gets the first goal. Oh, well, we're just going to push through that. It doesn't. At one point, it really mattered to the Jets if they scored first or the other team scored first. That doesn't matter anymore, because the Jets just keep doing the right thing over and over and over and over again. And they don't stop doing it from the first puck drop until the last whistle. And it's like a never ending sleeper hold. It's like I would think that it's maybe boring for the rest of the league, because the Winnipeg Jets start in their wrestling match and they go into the lock, throw the guy in the headlock,
Greg
and then they
Gagne's
just don't let
sleeper.
go. They just don't let go for the entirety of the 60 minutes, and and probably halfway through the first period, the ref lifts up the arm and it drops 3 times, and the Jets just don't let go, and they stand there and the ref lifts up the arm and it drops about 217 times throughout the game, and that's what a Winnipeg Jets wrestling match would look like.
Sure, and sorry, I should have said it was actually the Coyotes treating it like garbage time, because Sean, like, to reinforce what you were saying, Sean, I don't know if the TV caught it or not. Vladislav Nemestikov thought he beat out in icing when the game was basically over, and he was letting the linesman know that he didn't appreciate the fact that he won the race and he had to go down and take the faceoff in the defensive zone. So for me, that was another example of what sort of exemplifies how the Jets are playing right now in terms of proper habits and playing right till the final buzzer, even though they had the game well in hand. And, there they are. There's Adam Lowry scoring a goal, because, there's no garbage time goals when you're looking for your 8th of the season. And, we've talked about it. The third line hasn't been as offensively productive in terms of goal scoring as we've seen lately, but there they are. There's Adam Lowry getting a pass from Nino Niederreiter and burying it, right? So just another impressive showing of, like you said, playing the game the right way. And, the Jets did a lot of things well. And it's funny, I was talking about this, I think, on the pregame show with Derek Taylor and JP Vijay, Sean. Jets, some previous versions of the Jets could have got to the tail end of a 3-4 and playing 6-9 and all of those things and said, we've had a great road trip. Let's get ready to play at home. No, this team went to the golf course, got recharged, and then came up with a big effort. And Sean, let's not discount the Coyotes. The Coyotes have been in a playoff spot for a good chunk of the season. They just got passed by the Edmonton Oilers. They were in a similar situation to the Minnesota Wild, who thought, it wasn't back-to-back, but they thought, man, if they can beat the Jets today, maybe, that puts them back in a playoff spot. Today, this is another job of, thanks for your push, but you can stay down there for now,
Yeah.
Coyotes.
Yeah.
You guys
Aw,
are a team
cute.
on the rise. But
Oh,
yeah,
cute. You want to be one of us players teams.
what you've been
Oh,
doing
little noogie on
is
the
really
head.
really nice, and you do have some nice pieces over there, but they're just too loose, Sean. I mean, I love what Andre Tournier is doing with this group. He is obviously a great voice for the job. I think he's doing a great job, but they're just not in a position where they're playing well enough defensively and within structure to really be pushing against some of the NHL's elite. So in terms of the Jets, man, it's 29 in a row of three. We talk about it every single day, so it's starting to sound monotonous, but 29 in a row of 3 or fewer. And again, 7 of those 29 are 3, and the rest are 2 or fewer. That's 22 of 29, 2 of fewer. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Sean, 1 regulation loss in 17 games since December 1st. 12 games with a point, 6 wins in a row. Like, we know winning is hard in the NHL, even though the Jets are,
They don't
rattling
make it look
off.
that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's wild. Anyways, sorry, that's a good trip to the buffet. That's what I get for not being able to hear you last time for the first 20 minutes or so.
There you go.
Shout out to Jordan Mack. Shout out to Jordan Mack for the Shure headphones that I was able to use for the game, for this post-game show.
Mac Daddy, good man. Hey, you know what? It had been called for early, and you only get to pull out the mullet headband every once in a while. So why not? Let's get at it and make this a Sean's headband version of the Kenny and Renny show. I think I deserve the Pristine Roofing wake-up call for taking this long to put this bad boy on. I spent all my time waiting to put this on. Actually, Renny spends a good chunk of his day with this thing on, if I'm being honest with myself. But hey, I'm going to go ahead and give myself the Pristine Roofing wake-up call for not having this on any earlier. And you know what that means. Time to give North End Rick the Pristine Roofing wake-up call, 1-204-981-6289. It'll be a little bit earlier today than the last couple late nights, but holy smokes, we're bumping up close to 700 people in the chat room here. And now let's flood Rick's phone, give him the Pristine Roofing wake-up call. If you have any exterior needs, siding needs, roofing needs, he's the guy who will come down to your place. He'll take care of business. He'll take a look around. He won't fall off your roof. Promise. He's not Renny Roofy coming in there. But hey, if you want to get a hold of Pristine as well, you just give him a call at 1-204-237-7663. And I believe North End Rick still has some tickets to give away to the Home Improvement Show. It's a fun little show. It's like, what's that line from, we got a nice little Saturday plan down at Home Depot with me and the wife.
Will Ferrell, baby. Will
me
Ferrell.
and wife down at the home renovation show. It is a lot of fun. They sell fudge there. The fudge is great. I think you get Slurpees and stuff like it. It's just the best of times. So if you're interested, give North End Rick a shout out, text, and he can take care of you there, because Pristine Roofing is just so absolutely generous when it comes to stuff like that. Thank you to Pristine Roofing. Ken, let's get into Nikolai Ehlers and the game he had here today. I'm jumping the queue, but I'm going right off the bat right now. I'm giving the Johnston Group Got You Covered player of the game to just the incessant back checking that he had going on here tonight. Just like the way that he kept closing the gap, kept going back. I was really, really impressed by Nikolai Ehlers. And I mean, the points came for him, but what we talked about with this first line over this stretch of time where they weren't scoring is the team kept winning. And one of the reasons they kept winning is because that line kept on playing the right way. They kept on up with the back pressure. They kept doing all those things that makes the Jets such a suffocating team defensively. And tonight was just another example of it. And it's good to see the payoff that a good high scoring line gets to finally start kicking the puck in the net a little bit more often, but doing it at the same time as being just absolutely defensively suffocating. I just thought Ehlers was phenomenal like that tonight. And so was Scheifele, to be honest with you, and so was Velarde. But when you see Ehlers' speed, I think one thing that you're definitely, and I'm not saying he wasn't, didn't do this defensively in the past, but you typically think of Nikolai Ehlers winding it up with the puck and heading down towards the offensive zone. He's doing that wind up thing and getting down in the back end just as much these days. So that's for me. Got you covered.
Oh,
play
love
of the
it.
game.
I'm going again, and I think I'll have a
Group.
specific one. He came back on Liam O'Brien through the neutral zone. And not only did he back pressure him, he got to the point where he actually not tried to pick him from behind. He kind of went around him. He went right around him and then checked him, which was incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Unbelievable. Hey, do you run a small business in Canada? You can look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. And that's the Kenny and Renny OGs, the Johnson Group. Got you covered. Play of the game. I couldn't agree with you more, Ken. But dig in a little bit deeper on Ehlers and what you think worked out so well offensively for him.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Sean, we talk about puck luck sometimes, and, Mason Appleton's going through a rough go here in terms of offensive generation. I mean, 22 games now without a goal, but he feels like he can't buy one. Nikolai Ehlers tries to pass it to Dylan Samberg. It goes off his right skate, but pinballs right back to him. And he unloads a clapper that blows by Vamelka, and all of a sudden you're up to 14 goals on the season, right? I mean, there have been stretches where Ehlers, in the last couple of years have been a little bit frustrated offensively, but man, he has sure found his game, and he's really rolling. And Mark Scheifele was really encouraged by how that line was going, and Gabriel Vilardi, even though this was what we call the reward, Sean. Vilardi's been playing well. He's been getting to the hard areas. He's been going to the net, and it's an assist on an empty netter, but you're out there because the coach trusts you in that situation. So that's the reward for Vilardi. I love the way Ehlers is playing. We know that, even Scheifele said to me, he said, being off the ice, it disrupted their rhythm. So that's not an excuse. It's a reason, because we know they have the receipts to back it up previously, and now the last couple games when they're started to get rolling again. So, when Ehlers is skating the way that he is right now, and like you said, the back pressure, but Sean, this to me goes back to Scheifele. Scheifele's been a real driver for the Jets all year long, and his game hasn't dipped off. I understand there's people saying, oh, well, he went 4 games without a point. Big deal. Mark Scheifele has 40 points in 39 games, even with the 4-game drought. Big deal. He's playing great 200-foot hockey. His buy-in has been at an exceptional level, and, when the leaders on the team do the job, and Nikolai Ehlers is one of the leaders, he's really done an excellent job on a lot of fronts. And we've talked about this before. Ehlers, last year wasn't in the playoffs until the last game, wasn't fully healthy. He's had plenty of playoff runs where he hasn't been healthy. He's a guy who wants to be on that big stage and perform. Now he's back, he's on the top line, and it's an opportunity for him to really, really shine. And that's why I think, what we're seeing from Ehlers, this is the reason why last year I said he had the potential to not only be a 30-goal guy, but a 40-goal guy. So, we'll see. It's up to him to stay healthy and do the job. But 14 and 39 games, if he heats up a little bit, he's got the pace to be 30-plus again this year. So I love the way that he's playing. Rick Bowness likes the way that he's playing. And you just continue to see enormous potential for all 3 parts of that line. They're really starting to mesh well, and they're a load to handle. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, well, and I go back to this idea that I was talking about before. When people were getting a little bit antsy afterwards and saying, "Okay, well, the magic wore off," and
right,
all this kind of stuff. I just don't think, for the most part. Maybe when people think of hockey, and in our generation growing up, you thought of Wayne Gretzky, right? And Wayne Gretzky just went out and did it every single night, over and over and over and over. Like, there weren't a lot of people before that in the history of the game that had done that. So if you grew up in the 80s, you had that, and then you had Mario for a good chunk of time. Yeah. And then you had Yarmer for a good chunk of time. Then things kind of slowed down for a little bit, but Crosby and Ovechkin came in. And so there's always been these guys, McDavid's there now, that you get this idea that what hockey should be is you go out and you get 2 points a night and you rock it and you move on, and that's the way it goes, right? And like what you're not seeing is like when I remember this. I remember being a kid and watching, and you'd hear like, "Oh, Maryland, you had 5 points tonight," right? And that was just, it seemed to happen all the time. What you never heard as a kid, although I was kind of watching, highlights all the time, but what you wouldn't hear about were the games where he got blanked and didn't have any points, right? That's what happens for a little while here, right? People are forgetting how scorching hot that line was at one point. And so when they were absolutely scorching hot and racked up all those points, and it was something stupid, like between the three of them, it was like 22 points combined in like 4 games or something like that. That's the stuff that gets you through the low times, right? And instead of like, it's the one thing that kind of, I've been saying, be steady with this team, and why this team is so good, because you can be steady, is so that you get all your points there, then you go quiet for a while, and then you just got to be patient and let the cycle work itself, and for those guys to come back. And I think what I said to you last game, Ken, I'd said I think this is the kind of game where you're going to see that line wake up. Well, they woke up last game, and now they took a step forward this game, and so now I wonder what it's going to look like, because the Jets are in a little bit of a stretch here now. The next 2 of their games are against clubs that are kind of like what we've seen here. Like the Jets are on a 5 straight thing. They've gone and they've taken care of their business against the really good teams, and against some of those really good teams, that's when that line was firing, right? So now they've taken this 5-game stretch here of the little bit lesser teams, and they're starting to work their way into it. I like where that line's heading, over the next little bit. They've got 2 more games like that. Hockey Night in Canada next week. The Flyers are going to be an interesting game. Yep. That's a Hockey Night in Canada game. This is not me just trying to sell Hockey Night in Canada and your favorite host, Renny, out there. Well, maybe a little bit, but I think that's going to be an interesting game, because I think they're like they're the poor man's version of the Winnipeg Jets, right? They can't get things going on the power play, and they're having issues like that, but they grind and they compete. People weren't expecting them to do what they do, and then you play them and you realize they're a hard team to play against, right? We hit 700 right now, by the way, Ken. 700 people watching.
Great to see it right now. Let's go.
But like, I like where the Jets are now. I like the idea that we are probably going to see a good effort out of that first line again against the Columbus Blue Jackets. And that's the beauty of this Winnipeg Jets team, is you don't have to tinker. You don't have to rip stuff apart. You don't have the urgency to try and really push guys to get them going. You saw essentially what happened was Rick Bowness got a little bit, like antsy with that line and broke them up for a little bit. I think just to show them that, guys, I will break you up. I will. And then that didn't work, and he just went right back to it. He didn't, say, okay, well, now we're really blowing this thing up and moving things around. He was like, I sent a message. That message, maybe worked a little bit. It didn't work absolutely crazy, but I was just kind of fooling guys. Let's go back. Let's all put our lines together. Let's get back.
Need a writer.
Yeah. Oh, don't start with that. Don't start with that. Listen, people, I have to say this. I'm going to talk specifically to you. Say something, and then I'm going to talk specifically to some people.
Some people, there was some buzz around the room that it might have been Niederreiter who got the goal and not Perfetti. Just saying.
Perfetti, wasn't it?
They gave it to Perfetti, yep. Originally Niederreiter, now Perfetti. There was some talk they might be switching it back. Just saying, he was out there with Perfetti. Another goal gets scored. That's all.
Okay, I'm going to...
But hey, hang on. And that line delivered again today. That line was excellent. That was my joke today, but just in the back pocket if you need it. If you need it.
We got guys out there like Kenny's water bottle. We got guys out there like T. Will, Stonewall Dave, guys like that. They'll believe anything you tell them, Ken. But we do have some educated people out in the chat room at times. Kenny let me know, I'm not going to name names, but it sounds like on the mentors trip, some of the people were saying to Ken that they actually check out Kenny and Renny. And to those specific people who have access to Winnipeg Jet players in their family, they're their mentors. So you have access to these guys. You talk to them and you get to hear all the inside stuff that's going on. I just want to apologize for Ken not backing down from that take. He's trying to destroy what is good and working for this team right now, all for the sake of his own ego. He just wants to be right for the sake of being right. And I just want to say, for a deep, heartfelt apology from Renny to all of you
Buddy, they're on the plane. They're not watching
people
tonight.
out there, just listen. Someone tell them. Someone give them a text when they land. Tell them to watch the show and Rennie's heartfelt apology for what Ken's trying to do to that team that they were so roundly cheering tonight and so well deserved. No doubt. All right. Let's move on. Why don't you give Sweet Lou a shout out before we do move on here?
You bet. With the turn of the calendar, if you have realty needs you'd like to have met, get in touch with our main man, Lou Ferlin at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty. Tell him Kenny and Rennie sent you. You can reach him at 204-791-9971 or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's LOU@LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of the community, including this podcast.
Kenny's trying to slip one by and not tell anyone it was a 6-on-5 when Perfetti and him were out there. Like, come on, Ken.
It was a 6-on-5.
What are we doing here?
What
are we doing here?
All I said is that they combined for another goal. That's all I was saying. He also combined for a goal with his own line.
Craig Zamzow says, what is the post-game chat room?
I think we're looking at it.
No, I think that we hit 800 one time.
Oh, with John Morosi. John Morosi after the Canadiens game, maybe?
So I'll say this. I'm going to say this. And listen, there was a little bit of time where Kenny and Rennie went out. They wanted to see what was out there in the world. They were sowing their wild oats. And we continued on with our show the year that the Montreal Canadiens knocked out the Jets in the second round. And we did some pretty crazy numbers through Montreal there as well. Now, we know that a big part of that is going to be that our audience stayed true to us, even while we were out there philandering in Montreal. And so it's a little bit of an unfair assessment. But I have to say, probably for a Winnipeg Jets show, I think we're looking at a record here. So thank you to the Coyotes for making it happen and making it a 6 o'clock Central Standard Time start, because some of these people, it's probably past their bedtime now, but it's really past their bedtime if you push it back an hour. Ken, what do you think of Connor Hellebuyck tonight?
Yeah, I mean, he was not busy. I don't know. I mean, Connor Hellebuyck has gone through a stretch where he's been absolutely out of this world. So I've got no issues with Connor Hellebuyck. You know, like you said, the puck kind of bounced on him. Did he need to be behind there? Sean, I would say this. Although some people were, having, again, PTSD on the old X and Twitter machine this evening, oh, no, Connor Hellebuyck's reverting back to the old days when it was an adventure when he played the puck. That's not true. He's done an excellent job this year in terms of puck handling. So to me, that's a bad bounce, one-off. That's not a concern whatsoever. I mean, the other goal by Schmaltz, it was a 6-on-5, and it was one of those where goalies go down in the RVH, and it kind of went over his shoulder. But I don't have any concerns with Hellebuyck. He's been absolutely tremendous. I already know. Again, some people are going to say, "Oh, well, when's Brossoit going to be playing again?" He's been .956 since December 1st. So I think, Sean, to promote your broadcast, I would think that Hellebuyck goes Saturday against the Flyers. That's my personal view. Then there'll be a back-to-back coming up. I don't think he's going to play against the Hawks on Thursday. I would think the Flyer game makes sense, but who knows? Maybe they go against the Hawks, but what we know is Connor Hellebuyck doesn't need a bunch of extra rest, but he can get the rest because Brossoit is playing great. It has been a taxing stretch. He's played now, I think 29 out of 39. Yeah, 29 out of 39. That's a big load. Even though Connor Hellebuyck was kind of joking that Brossoit was already keeping him fresh by playing in 20 or 10 games out of 38. So, he's going to the All-Star game, so I think you're going to see Brossoit still stay in a regular rhythm here. No issues with Hellebuyck today. The Jets were great defensively. Like I said, one bad bounce, one kind of beat him over the glove side when, there's a lot of traffic in front. Nothing burger for me.
Nothing burger. Would you say in Rennie's made-up stat, the simple stat that matters, which goaltender was better tonight? Do you think he lost on that stat tonight? I
mean, you could argue that, but the other guy gave up 5 when he was way busier. So again, Hellebuyck's had a ridiculous stretch of hockey, dating back to November 17th against the Buffalo Sabres. If his off nights are 2 goals allowed, one of which was a bad bounce, the Jets will be laughing to the bank for the next 6 months if that's the case. So anyway.
You missed it because you were like stuck in that closet, locked in that closet in the green room, and popping out, here once or twice.
I know. I heard the Hellebuck slander. Don't worry. I heard it. I'm just letting you off. I'm just letting you off the hook here.
But I will say this. Like, so it's funny. I ran into Dino. Dino is actually in the chat room. I ran into him in the grocery store today, and he brought up that idea. How I suggest that I think that a lot of most goaltenders would look really good in this system. I think this was a night where the Winnipeg Jets just went out and said, "Listen, this is exactly what Rennie's talking about. He can have an off night. He cannot be anywhere near his best, and it's a blowout. Like, it's a blowout. We can spot them goals, and it's a blowout. I just think this is like Connor Hellebuck. The vast majority of shots he faced tonight were from way, way out, unimpeded view. This was not a challenging outing for Connor Hellebuck. I think you at least have to be able to.
Of course, agreed. But
let's be honest.
I agree. It was not a busy outing. It was not a busy outing, but the Jets still scored 5 against the other guys. So if you want to say he was the second best goalie, was he below his own standards? Yes, but his standards. Let's rattle them off.
He would have had to have been like letting floaters in from the blue line to be worse. If your standard is just one guy won and one guy didn't win,
just listen to me for 1 second here.
We're talking qualitative, not quantitative, Ken.
Okay. Well, the qualitative and qualitative is here's the numbers before today. Today was 882. Yes, below. 964, 941, 944, 920, 960. One blip at 885, 938, 941, 923, 941, 952,
and
947.
LB's numbers look the same.
Right, and he's a good goalie. These are not system goalies. They benefit from the system, but Connor Hellebuck is an elite goalie, Sean.
I'm not for a second saying like, I'm on the record as saying these two. I'm not. There's nowhere. Don't try and make it sound like I'm saying that these guys are run-of-the-mill goaltenders. I've never said that. But what I am saying is there are two goalies operating under like Connor Hellebuck didn't need to be anywhere near good. He didn't need to be NHL level tonight to win that game. That's the point. The point of this is that, like, I just am saying the Winnipeg Jets deserve credit for how they play, how hard they make it to score on them. This is not the Winnipeg Jets going on this streak where they've had 29 straight games of goalies bailing them out and keeping the score under 3. The reason the score is consistently 3 and under is as much, if not more, the team system than it is the goaltenders.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me they go hand in hand. I don't think you put a league average or below average goalie in here and it's still the same. That would be my counter. But yes, the structure in the system, we're on board. We're in agreement there. Hellebuck has been just through an exceptional run. Was he below his standard today? Yes, but I'll give the guy a break when his break requires 2 goals against. I mean, again, I also get it, Sean, and I'm not trying to get in your grill here, but he's still among the league leaders in goals saved above expected. So I don't want you to diminish. I mean, people around the league are talking about Hellebuck
maybe
potentially being in the Hart Trophy conversation. So maybe some of that is system related, and the other part of it too. And I was talking about this with Derek Taylor on the pregame show. I get it. With how well the Jets are playing, we have to nitpick to the smallest minute degree because they're not doing a lot of things. Everything they're doing is well. So I get it. I just don't want to get into there's a good point here by Bart Omad. Hellebuck and Bressois are battling for the Jennings here. So yes, of course you need a good structure to do that, but you still have to have elite and high-end goalies in order to be in those conversations. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'm just I don't know. I guess this is what I don't want to be lost on this, and I think it's lost at a national level. Is again, I think because Connor Hellebuck is who he is, and he's I think this year the best goaltender in the world. Like other years I'll say one of the best, if not the best. I think this year he's the best goaltender in the world. I just don't like the viewpoint from outside of Winnipeg, where
Gotcha.
people aren't watching the games as much, that this is a Connor Hellebuck driven thing. I don't think it is. Like, I think it's pretty obvious to anyone who's watching these games. The Jets are suffocating. They don't let anyone anywhere near the net. They create so many situations where teams, yeah, you can shoot all night. You can get 35 shots all you want. If you're floating most of them in from distance, it's not danger. It's a stat pattern is what it is. And so I guess that's the one thing, and I think it's probably why I sing it from the rafters, is because, I'll tell you this right now, the difference between the Winnipeg Jets last year and this year is not that Connor Hellebuck is having a way better year than he had last year. That's not it. So if you have to find out what the difference between the Winnipeg Jets of last year and this year is, that's what it is. It's the Winnipeg Jets and how they play as a team and how hard they make it to score. And so to me, I feel sometimes like on the outside, maybe people aren't listening and they're just pawning it off as great goaltending in Winnipeg. That's what's got them doing this. That's not it at all. This is like the Winnipeg Jets as a team, their coaching staff, every man on that team deserves and is carrying a massive load on their shoulders, every last one of them, on keeping this team on this heater that they're on, where it's 29 games now that is 3 goals or less.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe it's just why I keep belaboring that point. I don't think it's slander. I don't think I'm trying to bring Connor Hellebuck down. I think I'm trying to raise. I think I'm trying. I know you are. I think I'm. But there will be people out there, Ken, who think that that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to raise the Winnipeg Jets and their system and their team play up to where it deserves to be and known across the country and across the hockey world, where it deserves to be known.
Yeah, the Jets don't bleed chances like they used to when Connor Hellebuck routinely had to bail them out. But we can't ignore the league average goaltending is .902 as of last week. Hellebuck is at .922. So when you're 20 points above league average, it can't only be the system is my counter. Now, I agree with you, and if you talk to scouts like we do, the scouts have noticed the difference with the Jets. Hellebuck is still great. Hellebuck was great before. The difference is that the structure is better, the system is better, the commitment is better. And I honestly think, and I think that part of this is because they had to go through what they did last year, the free fall, to know how good they have it or had it and how good they could have it if they actually play to that system over 80 games instead of 42.
Okay, I love this comment by Issue Boy Bruce. I think we should talk about it quickly. Issue Boy Bruce says, if this means the Tendies are rested enough to steal some games in postseason, I'm here for it. Okay, this is really interesting. I find this really interesting because I've said this in the past. I haven't liked for years. This has been a conversation 2 years back, 3 years back. The amount of times, we go back to that year with Comrie. Both of us had thought Comrie should have been playing more games, playing more games. Last year, down the stretch, essentially what happened was because they didn't have faith in David Riddick, they had to go all Hellebuck all the time down the stretch. And I've said this before, I don't get there's a certain number of goaltenders in the history of the game that can stand up to that abuse. I always use Brodeur as the guy who was just a freak of nature who could pull it off. I've talked to teammates of his in the past. They'll say the same thing about it. And I always point to Mika Kiprasov with the Calgary Flames, who came in that 1 year and was absolutely phenomenal, and his numbers just dipped year after year because they just kept playing him, and I think they tired him out. Now, I'm not saying that Connor Hellebuck in the playoffs has been a tired goaltender, because I don't look at it and necessarily think that, but I'm here all day for this argument Issue Boy Bruce is saying of this new system. One of the things I don't think we've talked about is, never mind that they're less busy and how they fit under it and all this kind of stuff. Are we putting this, creating a situation by which the Winnipeg Jets and both their goaltenders, but mainly Connor Hellebuck, have a chance to head into the playoffs the best they've ever headed into the playoffs because of the workload? Hey, he could play the same amount of games, but the workload in game is way less this year.
Yeah, bang on. Not as taxing. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. You don't have anything more you want to say about that?
I talked about Hellebuck for 15 minutes, I thought. Is there more to say?
Well, no, I'm about this idea of, like, what do you see? Okay, put it this way.
Sorry. What I see happening is that I want Brossoit to play 25 to 27. I don't know if
What
they
I'm
can get
asking
there.
you to do, Ken, is hop off the fence and tell us whether or not we're going to see a Connor Hellebuck the likes of what we've never seen before in the playoffs this year, and if this will have something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's pretty clear. Connor Hellebuck, he said it to me again on this road trip. His only, nice to go to the All-Star game, be with their family, get your son a new jersey. But the only thing that matters to Hellebuck is what happens in April, May, and June. Yes, you have to enjoy what's happening along the ride when you get there. But yeah, Connor Hellebuck wants not just a taste of 2018. He wants to be on the trophy. And I think that because Brissois is here and Connor won't have to play 68 games, and if he even plays 62, like you said, the 62 he's going to play are going to be way less taxing than before, and he's not going to have to play 11, 12, 13 in a row down the stretch. And not only won't he have to, he won't, because the Jets won't let him. And Hellebuck is totally fine with a reduced workload as long as he stays in a rhythm. And he knows he needs to go on a long playoff run. But again, we've had this debate a lot of times, and I think he was very good against Nashville, and he was very good against Edmonton. I know that we have a little difference of opinion because the guys at the other end weren't good enough. But Connor Hellebuck, he has another level to find in the playoffs, and I expect, like you said, I think this year he will be put in position to be his best when it counts because he won't be burnt out.
Would you at least say Connor Hellebuck? Because we've had this debate a lot.
I don't want to have it today, please.
Would you at least say Connor Hellebuck's production in the playoffs has not matched his production in the regular season?
I wouldn't say that because we've talked about this also. He has another level to find. I know you would, but I've said this before.
That was a nice way of agreeing with me. That was a nice way of trying to sound like you don't agree with me.
Well, we've had the debate again. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they're
okay.
not that dissimilar.
Moving on. I can't take it
he
anymore.
He needs to be the best goalie in all 4 rounds, not in 1 or 2. He needs to be the best goalie in the series in all 4 rounds if the Jets want their name on the trophy. I'll gladly give you that. But again, Connor Hellebuck, 5 years in the playoffs, Sean, .916 save percentage, .258 goals against average. Most teams would take that.
Yeah. I'm going to say I finally got an answer. So holding Ken's feet to the fire, to the candle, that really paid off. And if you're looking to pay off high interest credit cards or debt, we suggest you go talk to our friends at Cambrian Credit Union about their payoff loan. They can show you how taking out a loan to pay off your debt actually gets you debt-free faster, and you can save thousands of dollars. So go to cambrian.nb.ca to book an appointment online. All right, Ken, your keg save of the game. What do you got?
That was dirty pool, by the way.
It's the joy of being the host.
Save the game. I texted you. Justin Kirkland, backdoor tap. Connor Hellebuck, big and boring. Slides over, hits him in the middle of the chest. You think, oh, he must have missed his shot. No, the shot was going in. Connor Hellebuck ensured that it didn't by pushing post to post, squaring up, and making it look like he got it in the chest. So to me, Vejmelka had a couple beauties in the game too. There's no doubt about that, including one where on a 2-on-0 rush, it was very strange, but Ehlers kind of put himself in a less dangerous position, but then he still kind of almost beat him 5-hole, and the puck somehow ended up in the corner. But that was a weird sequence. But Hellebuck on Kirkland for me, for a lot of the things that we've been talking about for weeks. Because Connor Hellebuck makes difficult saves look routine, I'm choosing a save that was difficult, but he made it look routine.
Big and boring. Exactly. Okay. All right. I'm going to agree with you on that one, Ken. That was a good one. But it doesn't matter what we think. It only matters what the chat room thinks, or our fine folks at home who check this out afterwards. You got to let us know, though. You got to share with us your keg save of the game. If you do, you are automatically entered to win a $50 gift certificate. Oh, I see, Ken. I almost went in the wrong direction there. I got away from big and boring. I'm going to get back to big and boring here. $50 gift certificate to the keg, usable at any of their 3 fine locations in the city. Each location finer than the last. And the winner of the keg save of the game from our last show is Shafter. Is that what it is? Shafter. Papa T.
Big
So
Terry.
Papa T or Shafter, you know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name, your real name, Shafter or Papa T, and send me an email that I can send you your $50 gift certificate, and you will be dining in style at one of the 3 fine locations in the city of Winnipeg, the Keg, each location finer than the last. Congratulations to Papa T, Shafter, whoever you may be. Ken, moving on
quick one.
Yeah.
Yes, last game's winner, Andrew Knox, at the game today.
Yes.
Said thank you in person, and he looks forward to a family visit. He's a Winnipegger who lives in Calgary. He was at the game tonight, or this evening. He's fired up to go to the Keg with his family when he's back in the Peg.
Yeah, you saw him down there, eh? Talk about
here,
the timing. Talk about the timing. You didn't try and convince him to give you the $50 gift certificate.
I did not.
Did you?
I did not.
You sure? You
No,
sure?
I am positive.
Listen, Noxie, if you're out there, you can
don't
get a hold of Renny.
We're good.
You can get a hold of Renny. If he tried to pull any dirty pool, I'll take care of it.
He'll tell you, buddy. He'll tell you.
All right. TransCanada Brewing Company, lamplighter of the game. What you got, Ken?
Oh, man. A lot of choices. I personally am going with the Nemesnikov goal because of the ferocious forecheck by Cole Perfetti. We talk about his smarts and vision all the time, and even though it wasn't necessarily a backhand pass to Nemesnikov, is what it looked like in real time. The hockey intelligence to get on the right side of the puck and to be able to, there you go, able to get the puck knocked off of, hitting the stick of Sean Durzi so that it went right to Vladislav Nemesnikov. Nemesnikov pointed right at Perfetti. He made that play, even though he's not going to get credit for an assist. So to me, also because, Sean, we talked about it the last 4 games. Jets gave up the first goal. Today, they get the first goal, and they kind of got into their rhythm and routine after that. So for me, that's the Nemesnikov goal is my choice for the lamplighter this evening, although there were many quality options.
Before I share my own, I'm going to just back things up to the Keg. And Dave Chappelle says the Keg save of the game is the free bread at the Keg that you can use to scoop out the leftover mushrooms Neptune stuffing in the plate. This is a man
Sean,
who knows exactly what he's talking about.
The shrimp is what we enjoyed, Sean. We enjoyed the baked garlic shrimp, the dip with the bread.
But I'll tell you, I will tell you, this man has been there. He's done that. He knows exactly what he's talking about. If there was ever a comment in the chat room that you could taste the deliciousness of, this is it. Absolutely nailed it. Ken, I'm going to go with, I'm waffling because I'm a waffler. Let's be honest. I'm waffling between the Perfetti goal just because.
Just say it. You get that from me. Just say it. You get that from me. We've tried to embrace the other qualities in one another. That's one you get from me. Come on.
A little bit of pitbull action coming from Kenny. I like that one. I mean, it's the game winner. I think it's important. I think it really highlights, to adopt Ken's point of view, it really highlights how well Perfetti and Niederreiter work together, and we should destroy the third line and put them together because of that goal tonight, clearly.
Or because of the pass by Morrissey. That was high.
No doubt. Oh, God. Here's another one. We keep messing up on this podcast over and over again because we never talk about Josh Morrissey and how amazing he is, because it's how do you do it? You got to do it every single show. He's like brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Anyway, that one or the Lowry one. I just love the idea of this team up 5-0. They've already scored an empty net goal, and you just see the grind, that shift. They go out and they grind, and they're just not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And like you said, the Arizona Coyotes may have quit. Well, that's why the Arizona Coyotes are where they are. The Winnipeg Jets don't quit. That's why the Winnipeg Jets are where they are. So if there's a goal tonight that to me just shows why the Winnipeg Jets are first place in the NHL right now, that's the goal. Because to me, that is just the philosophy of the Winnipeg Jets on display. We are not going to quit. We are going to keep going. We're going to cram this down your throat from the drop of the puck right to the very end. I just think that is the superpower of this team. Most teams come in unable to handle it. I'm almost at the stage, Ken, where I feel like we're not really going to see, everyone's wondering now, because here, I'm going to bring this comment up here, and it's like, hey, let's pump the brakes here. Snack says, get ready to hoist Lord Stanley. Okay, I said the elite thing at the beginning of it. lots of stuff can happen. Gee, the Montreal Canadiens went from nothing to the Stanley Cup Finals a couple of years ago. Crazy stuff happens. We saw what happened last year with the Florida Panthers. Should have been eliminated
Right.
if the Pittsburgh Penguins don't completely fall flat on their face at the end of the year, and then they go all the way to the Cup Final. Lots of crazy stuff can happen. But I'm very interested now to see. I feel like we're not going to see what the challenge is for the Winnipeg Jets until the last 25 games of the season. Yeah, we'll get back to the Lamplighter. Until the last 25 games of the season, because this team is just at a stage where they're operating near close to the top of their level, and a lot of other teams got to bounce back. So when we see those teams bounce back, because a lot of people have said it, what we saw from the Vegas Golden Knights at the beginning of the year, we didn't see the best from the Winnipeg Jets. So we haven't seen how they stack up against them. And clearly now the Vegas Golden Knights have fallen and can't get up to a degree. And so we wouldn't see that even if we saw them play now. I want to see what all the teams who are like, okay, it's time to round into playoff form. Because a team like the Dallas Stars is like that. They do it every year. They kind of coast it a little bit in the middle, and then they kind of pick things up towards the end. I still think the LA Kings will pick things up. The Edmonton Oilers have to push because of the situation they put themselves in. It'll be interesting to see in the last 25 games of this season what the Jets look like against other teams, because right now no one's operating at the level that they're operating at. They're the class of the league right now, no doubt about it. And I think that Adam Lowry goal kind of shows why that's the case. Anyway, that's my Lamplighter. Doesn't matter what I think, matters what you think. So share with us your Lamplighter of the game. You do so, you're automatically entered to win a frosty, delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale, brought to you by our friends at Transcanada Brewing Company. If you cannot wait for Kenny and Renny to gift you your very own 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale, frosty and delicious, you can head on down to Transcanada Brewing Company. Join them in their tap room at 11290 Kenniston, where we will be having the January for Fanuary Kenny and Renny party. I'm going to throw the link up here right now. Come on out and support us.
Just
people.
highlight it. I got it in there.
This is absolutely a ton of fun. Everybody, you're going to have a good time. And I think right now, if we're getting 700 people in the chat room, it's just going to be a really cool environment to kind of celebrate what's going on and imagine what that's going to be like. Hey, the last party was a blast, but it was a little bit dampened because Kyle Connor got knocked out, and the Winnipeg Jets, they were beating an Anaheim team. Imagine if the Jets go to town again on the Boston Bruins in Boston, and you've got a frosty, delicious Lamplighter in your hand and a slice of the best pizza in the city at the same time while you're doing it, and you're listening to Renny spit bars the whole time. My God, that sounds like heaven. So you should come on out. That's where you can get your tickets at Eventbrite. Kenny and Renny live podcast tickets. Go check it out. It is going to be a blast. We assure you that it is going to be. And it's time now to announce our Lamplighter winner from our last show, and that would be In Bones We Trust. In Bones We Trust. That's a great name, because I'll tell you right now, that is, to me, it's the secret sauce of this Winnipeg Jets team, is a system. He's got them playing to an absolute T. So you know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name, In Bones We Trust, and send me your email, and I will send you a frosty or let me try get back to big and boring here. I will send you a voucher for a frosty, delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale, brought to you by our friends at Transcanada Brewing Company, the nectar of the gods. There we go. That's it.
Easy for you to say.
Before
I saw Jeff
further.
Bowes and Jay here. They were at the game today. They had their remarkable road trip. So I see Jeff is in the chat. Good on you.
Excellent stuff. Good stuff. Okay. That's it for us, Ken. Before we do go, I'm going to say what I want to say is that in a 24-hour period when I was down in St. Louis and we did that one Jets game in San Jose, and then we did our Russo pod, and then we did the Ducks pod after that. That was a lot to throw at everybody in that short amount of time, and boy, oh boy, everyone gobbled it up. That means a ton to us that you're spending that time with us. Thank you so much. I just can't ever get over how awesome our audience is and how well we're treated by them. I hope we treat you the same, and I hope Kenny will one day stop abusing you with that third line take of his.
Thank you for your investment, everybody. And hang on. I did play golf yesterday, for those wondering, and it went well, Marshall. Good. Happy to report. Solid start.
Yeah, 81. Tell him the score. It was
81,
81.
my man. 81,
Ken's like
solid.
kicking some butt. There you go. Anyway, if you appreciate the conversations happening in this space, please appreciate our sponsors who are fighting to keep the conversation going in this space. For us, that's Vittorio Rossi, Cambrian Credit Union, Pristine Roofing, Sweet Lou Furlan, the Kenny and Renny OGs in the Johnson Group, the Keg, and of course, Trans-Canada Brewing Company. Thank you to all of them. And like we were just saying, thank you to all of you. It means a ton to us that you choose to spend your time with us. There's nowhere we'd rather be. Love spending time with you. Thank you so much. Can't wait to chat with you after the next show. Tuesday, a game after the Columbus Blue Jackets back here in Winnipeg. It's going to be a good one. Talk to you later, folks.